The team that's been working with the State of New York Office of General Services and Facilities is up next, and Thomas Abdallah is their faculty advisor.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chloe Bulpin, and this evening I'm going to be presenting on behalf of our capstone project, Reducing Single-Use Plastic, for our client, New York State's Office of General Services. I'm joined by my wonderful colleagues and our faculty advisor, Thomas Abdallah, in developing these recommendations, and excited to share our work with you all this evening. So our client, New York State's Office of General Services, is a state agency that oversees centralized procurement contracts and manages office and state leasing. As a state agency, they are subject to Executive Order 22 that asks them to lead by example when it comes to sustainability initiatives. And in particular, it asks them to reduce single-use plastics. So we have been looking at their operations within Empire State Plaza's dining facilities located in Albany, and in particular looking at the waste reduction opportunity. So we are developing recommendations that we hope can scale and be replicated to other government campuses across New York State. Now let's contextualize the scale of the plastic problem. So in 2024, New York State government budgeted over $500 million in waste disposal. When you dig into the New York State waste stream, about 40% of it accounts for packaging alone, and nearly half of that is plastic. So while the estimates do vary, on the high end, we could be sending as much as 3 million tons of plastic to landfill every year in New York. So beyond the environmental impacts of that and the associated costs, these pieces of plastic waste are increasingly linked to forever chemicals and negative human health outcomes. So with our goal of plastic reduction quite clear, our research methodology funneled through 4 phases. First, we needed to frame the problem within the context of Empire State Plaza. This involved conducting a literature review to understand policy compliance needs, not only to Executive Order 22, but also to the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, as well as to Green New York Council specifications. Our team then reviewed and analyzed Empire State Plaza's waste audit, which provided us with a baseline to measure our plastic reduction against. As you can see, in 2025, over 400,000 pounds of plastic was sent to landfill. Next, we explored. So this involved conducting field research with an on-site visit to Albany. We also conducted a stakeholder mapping. This was to understand who within the context of Empire State Plaza and their day-to-day interactions were contributing to the circulation of and disposal of these plastics. That led us to create a survey for the 13 food vendors and to collect purchasing data. We also conducted multiple interviews, not only with the food vendors, but also with the Office of General Services leasing department, as well as their waste management partners. As a team, we reviewed over 60 case studies, all in single-use plastic reduction, as well as pilots, specifically from Empire State Plaza on site. Some interesting takeaways from the pilots on site were specifically around behavior-dependent interventions. So for example, one of the vendors here had this reusable cup, which actually sped up the sales because people with this cup could basically pass the line, and that drove adoption because of the convenience to the consumers. So as we start to understand the context and develop proposed solutions, we needed to rank our strategies. And we did so against a weighted evaluation criteria, which we developed and then got approval from our client on. The entire rubric is outlined in the appendix, but for the sake of the presentation, the 4 most important categories are plastic reduction potential, feasibility, cost considerations, and ongoing metrics and evaluation. So with all of our strategies ranked and scored, the highest ones could go on to development. So our final 3 recommendations span different implementation timelines, so short-term, mid-term, and long-term. First, in the short term, is leveraging existing success of pilots within ESP for bring your own incentives. The second is a move away from plastic packaging with sustainable substitutions. And the third is long-term investment in refill systems that encourage reuse. I'd also like to note that each one of these recommendations has a cost-benefit analysis that outlines the scale of the financial costs, as well as the scale of the environmental benefits of each. So our first recommendation, scoring a 4 out of 5 against our rubric, is expanding the existing bring your own cup incentives. It's a very simple model, right? The vendors offer discounts to customers who bring their own cups. Now, as you can see in the green, this is our environmental impact assessment and shows that a reduction of plastic packaging by 14,000 pounds can be achieved over 5 years. Additionally, the benefit-cost ratio for this recommendation is quite high. That is because even when offering this discount, the vendors still manage to save in avoided costs from the packaging. So that's those cups, lids, sleeves. And in our case study research, we found that to drive adoption of this model, it's very important to highlight customer financial incentives at the point of sale. This often drives repeat behavior and customer loyalty, which ultimately leads to higher sales for the vendors. Our next strategy, or recommendation, ranking at a 3.7 out of 5, is a swap to sustainable substitutions. So this is addressing plastic at the source with a swap from bottled beverages to infinitely recyclable aluminum cans, and at end of life with a move from plastic utensils to biodegradable or compostable alternatives. Now, as you can see in the green again with our environmental impact assessment, that leads to a reduction of plastic packaging by 59,000 pounds over 5 years. Now, it's important to note that the majority of these benefits are being driven by the swap to aluminum cans. That's because per ounce, aluminum actually costs less than the plastic that we would be replacing it with. But that benefit-cost ratio is a little bit below 1. That is largely because the alternatives, those biodegradable and compostable utensils, often come at a price premium to the food vendors. However, we still recommend this transition because it unlocks a sustainable pathway that single-use plastics simply cannot. That being said, we also recommend targeting downstream plastic with a post-consumer composting pilot at 1 or 2 of the vendors. Now, our last recommendation for the long term, 3.6 out of 5 on the score, is investment in refill systems. So as you can see in the green, this has the largest environmental benefit with that impact reduction of 60,000 pounds over 5 years. The way that we get there is 2 different strategies folded into this recommendation. The first is the investment in 2 additional water refill stations within Empire State Plaza's dining facilities, specifically located in high foot traffic areas. And the second component is piloting a refillable vending machine within Empire State Plaza's offices. This is to target employees before they even hit the food court. So as you can see, the benefit-cost ratio is a little bit lower here. It's important to note that all 3 recommendations were evaluated against a 5-year timeline. And obviously, this recommendation has the most upfront cost in investment, so over a longer time period, this would start to look better. However, it's important to note that the recommendation for the water refill stations actually builds in metrics and evaluation with that green ticker that shows you exactly how many water bottles are displaced per use, or plastic water bottles, and it has a proven track record of enabling long-term habit changes. So, all of our recommendations can be bolstered with what we're calling enabling infrastructure. To sustain ongoing impact and scale this system, we've identified a few different enablers. The first is partnerships and resources. These are the individuals and groups within Empire State Plaza who can really champion sustainability. The second is ongoing vendor engagement. This is building in lease incentives and supporting leasing businesses in their transition to sustainable procurement. And last but not least is communications and education. So this is both digital and on-site campaigns, signage, marketing that educates stakeholders on the impact of plastic not only to their personal health and tax dollars, but also to the environment at large. We believe that by using all of these enablers in partnership with our recommendations, you can create a case study within Empire State Plaza that our client can then replicate to other state campuses and hopefully be implemented across New York. So thank you, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you so much for the great presentation. You mentioned biodegradable and compostable utensils, and I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the difference between the two of them.
Thank you for the question and the kind comments. Okay, so this is something we had to clarify quite often as we were going through the work. Biodegradable is basically the largest category here. It is how the packaging or the product behaves in the landscape, whereas compostable actually requires a BPI certification. That certification has a standard that evaluates the sort of time that it takes for something to biodegrade within a context, an environmental context. And so there is a standardization and certification process associated with it. So the reason that we have this twofold application is Empire State Plaza's campus is open. That means that at any given point in the year, they've got people coming in who are lobbyists, they've got some people who are on-site employees, and because of that mix, it's very difficult to control what actually ends up in the waste. So having everything go to a biodegradable, at least then, is better than a single-use plastic option. And then the compostable, especially that pilot program, gives you the opportunity to trial post-consumer collection of that waste stream. Thanks for the question. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, nice job. So you're working in the capital of a state that's rejected environmental producer responsibility for 2 years in a row and has a lot of business opposition to it. I don't know if you were working on any, do you have any policy recommendations based on that? Because obviously if that were to be adopted, it would affect the same issue that you're working on.
For sure, there's a lot of change happening at the moment. In terms of the policy mandates that our client was subjected to, so if I go into the appendix, all three of them. So Executive Order 22 is part of the CLCPA, which is the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. All New York agencies are subject to this one. So as our client came to us, basically really asking for recommendations on how they could strategically move under this policy imperative.
Thank you for the great presentation. Quick question. Did you guys look into returnable utensils by any chance as a possible solution? I know that there might not be any that serve the Albany area, but just curious about that.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely looked at more closed loop systems, but I think in terms of our overall evaluation criteria, our client essentially had a few different needs. One was quick impact and feasibility in terms of cost considerations. I think as a state agency with a low budget for this, creating a centralized mode of collection was quite challenging within the context of Empire State Plaza. So in the long term, I think moving towards that direction would be fantastic, but within the feasibility constraints of trying to address all the different vendors, it wasn't the most feasible option at this time.